You're listening to a main feed episode. Go to patreon.com/Celtic Ligers where €5 a month gets you weekly full-length episodes, stray bonus content and access to the back catalogue. Also helps cover hosting and gives us money for sweeties. Thank you. Celtic Ligers. Celtic Ligers.
Recorded January 1st, 2024.
Hello.
Hello and welcome to the Celtic Ligers post New Year's. That's why we're all fucking hungover, man, and hanging. And although it's funny because I haven't had a drink in ages.
Yeah.
Got my chip. No, I don't have my chip. But I am feeling very hungover for some reason.
I find you can get people talk about contact highs.
Yeah.
There's also contact lows.
That's true. Are you feeling a contact low from being in contact with me? Is that what you're saying?
No, but like when you're around hungover people.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not hungover.
Yeah. I was thinking I don't think I have a drinking problem, but the problem I think I have is that I'm not able to stop once I start. Okay.
That's normal.
Yeah, but I am able to not drink for a very like if I don't.
Yeah.
If somebody told me not to drink, I'd be like, okay, and I would stop.
Yeah.
You know? But if I drank one, then I'd be like, oh wait. So I was thinking about like, is there something like a pill that you could take that would make each successive remove the addictive part, you know?
Yeah.
So you'd be like, so I could be the type of person that'd be like, oh, will I stay for one more? Sure, why not? Rather than like trying to come up with excuses so that people can stay, so we can have another. Like, let's keep this good time going.
Yeah. I'm afraid the only pill here is you. You pill.
I thought a pill was a good thing, depending on the context. That guy's a real pill.
Oh, I thought it was a bad thing. You're a pill.
Actually, maybe you're right. It's bad. Unless it's a freaking pill of ecstasy, in which case, sign me up.
Yeah, it's once I have one, I just keep taking more.
I love it. I thought we went to a retreat in.
I knew a guy who took one time on a night out. He took 8.
I know a lot of people who took like 12, like regular kind of week, because they stop being effective after a while. So if you haven't upped the ante, I was like, I wouldn't do that. I would just be like, well, that was a nice time that I had on the old ecstasy.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'll be risking having a heart attack or a stroke.
Yeah. That's it. If you need 8, you should be aware that something in your brain is getting fried.
it's like the good time is over, pal. Right?
Yeah.
No, like I was going to say that we went to a retreat in Galway, and I went to a multi-denominational school, but then had to go to a Catholic secondary school. So that was my first exposure to kind of Catholicism. Okay. What a trip it was.
Lord knows we're getting it at home.
No. But they have, when they bring you to the retreat, a lot of the retreat is also obviously like a recruitment.
Yeah.
Well, you're kind of preaching to the choir in some instances, literally in some. But like they kind of had that American thing that they would do, you know? So like one of the people they would wheel in would be like, my name's Stacey and I'm full of energy and I'm super excited to be here. Well, she's not American. She was from Mayo. But she was talking like that. And she's like, look at my trainers. Oh, I'm loads of fun. And then she's like, but you know what's not fun? Is the time that I went through this. And then it's like, but then I'm gone and now I'm back on top,
fun.
You know?
Yeah.
And so anyway, in this particular retreat, I kind of like going to them because you would be exposed to these very strange characters.
Yeah.
But this guy in particular, he did the same thing about like, oh, I'm really happy now, but I remember when I wasn't happy, but now I'm happy again.
Yeah.
But he said that the thing that made him unhappy was like addicted to ecstasy. Is that a thing that you can do to get addicted to ecstasy? Like I've seen addictive behavior around ecstasy, but it's not one that I would associate with addiction.
Yeah.
But then maybe you can get addicted to anything, do you know?
I saw one of those Vice documentaries, and it was about like people who never stop raving, and as long as you do it healthy, you can just keep on having a good time. You know, I think I told you about this. And it was like a guy who, he's going to raves, but he's like, I only do this amount, and I stop at this point, and I'm 50, and I no health concerns, all this sort of stuff. And then there's one guy, and they turned up to his house at 11 o'clock in the morning, and he's eating cocaine. And anyway, one of the things he does is he's like, oh, we'll go to the pub again at like noon.
Yeah.
And then he's like dropping ecstasy in the car
Yeah.
on the way to the pub. And I was like, I think he's addicted to ecstasy. You know?
Like in Shameless as well, I was surprised. I was like, is that a common thing? I don't know if you watch Shameless, but
yeah.
like, they would go to the pub and he's like, can I get a pint and 2 eckies, and what was it? They said pint and 2 pills. Yeah, they would say pills.
Yeah, I remember that. That made me really want to do that.
I know.
It made it look really like delicious.
Yeah, it looked so good. It looked so fun. I love that. I was like, that made me for a while think like, I think I'm going to develop like substance abuse problems because that looks fucking class. And it's funny because when I was younger, I'd be watching Skins and they'd be doing the exact same thing, but I would hate it because it felt like a lie because they were so glamorous.
Yeah.
But then when I saw him being like pissing himself and he's wearing like a jacket, he looks like shit. And
it just looked really comfortable.
Yeah, it just looked like, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great to just get a bit of money, head down the pub, and then just be able to just not.
I think it was cheap as well. You like hands over it. It's sort of like when you watch Train Spotting. Really does make you want to do gear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was the? I remember David Cross took crack one time.
Yeah.
And he did it in like London, and like he was at a place. They were like, "Hey, do you want to try some crack?"
Yeah.
And he just goes, "Yeah, I'll give it a whack." And then he said, "Wow, this is really good." And he's like, and that's when I knew I could never do this again because I would never stop doing crack.
I know a guy who went to some part of South America.
Yeah.
And he was at a party, and then there was this pipe going round. And he was like, what is this? And they're like, sort of like crystal meth.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, well, it's like crystal meth, but it's not crystal meth.
Yeah.
And then he said, like, he had the greatest night of his life. And he, like, fell in love with this woman. And then he's like, nah, that just was crystal meth.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I have a very romantic vision of drugs sometimes, like with in V for Vendetta in the comic. Well, we might have talked about this before in our review for V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
Which I think still exists because it was on the Patreon and wasn't wiped by the fucking servers at Acast.
Yeah. Just because we stopped paying.
Just because we simply stopped paying them €20 a month or however much it was.
The host, our podcast.
Well, there was some sort of weird glitch whereby all the episodes were still up there even though we weren't paying the serving costs, the hosting costs. So you could still access them on Spotify. But then because I had to set up a new account, they were like, oh, well, we'll correct that. And they just wiped them. I was like, fuck, is there no way that those could have been combined into the same feed?
Yeah.
It really upset me just because I was like, that's a lot. And then I was like, I'll go back and I'll, they're all dispersed over various hard drives. I do definitely have all the episodes, but that's going to be a whole project putting them together.
The thing though is that if I knew someone was going back and like listening to us talk about like Tony Houlihan,
yeah,
I'd want to delete the episode. You know what I mean?
There are several episodes where I was like, I'm very glad that is not on the record anymore.
Why?
There was one where I gave a semi-positive review to the Sock Dems, and I'll never forgive myself for that.
Yeah.
And then there's like other ones. The Tony Houlihan one is a great example because we weren't like overly praiseworthy of Tony Houlihan, although we did kind of agree with some of the things that he was saying about lockdown at the time. But there was one of the names of the episodes was "It's Tony, bitch, and I am back" or something like that. And I was just like, that sounds like Mueller she wrote shit, doesn't it? Just of like.
Well, I just meant like it's so time specific.
Yeah, well, that's the reason I mean, like, yeah, time specific. You could go, oh, back in 2016, listening to a podcast about Donald Trump or something.
Yeah.
You could be like, that's lame. But I do think that there is something very valuable of having a podcast from 2020 at the start of the pandemic with finding out what's happening in real time. Because remember, we were
very lackadaisical.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Like initially we were like, oh yeah, you heard about this thing? And
Yeah,
then you're like, yeah,
just
I don't know.
chop out a bat.
Yeah, and then eventually we were inside. I was like, fuck, how long is this going to last? And then there was one amazing episode where you were down in Tara Pier when I was back in Galway. And then in the middle of the podcast, we found out that there was going to be more lockdown restrictions. And you're just like, no, that's a bit. You're like, I was like, no. I was like, oh. So,
I do. I remember that. Because, like, I mean, everyone knows, but it was like 2 weeks. And then I remember there was one, they were like, it's going to be 3 months.
Yeah.
Like that. And just being like, how the fuck are we going to survive this?
And like, there are some episodes as well, some of them on the Patreon of me, like, because there's nothing to do but watch the news and kind of be going mad. And then there was one episode that we recorded on the Patreon, and Kayla's my ex girlfriend, her friend listened to it, and anyway, Kayla then messaged me like, "Are you okay?" Neve, because like Neve heard the latest podcast. So all these people who were out marching, the anti-vaxxers, the anti-lockdown, all these people who were saying that all the guidelines were bullshit and being told by the media, government, that actually no, they were very important. It turns out they can be changed overnight, and because like then it doesn't matter. But it was if I remember correctly, it was actually I don't remember what it was at all. I just know that it was Radker had broken lockdown rules or something to go to a festival or something like that.
I think
Or
there was a
something else.
lockdown in Ireland, but not England.
Yeah.
And he went to a festival in England.
Incorrect. For posterity. In July 2021, Catherine Zappone organized a meetup which was in breach of lockdown guidelines in order to celebrate a position in the UN which she didn't actually get. Wah, 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 wah. Leo Varadkar attended and people were outraged given that the government had imposed such strict guidelines which they so effortlessly violated. Varadkar appeared on the news to explain and apologize. His argument was the guidelines changed before we did the bad thing but you just didn't notice. Gar's complete breakdown came from the entire Irish public exclusively following the plight of small business owners during these difficult times and then the government just saying actually you were wrong. We could have gatherings of this size the whole time. Now for you.
No, the thing that drove me mad, or it was in 2021, sorry. The thing that drove me mad was when the news were to talk about this.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, to open up, we're going to talk about how bands are going back out and they're very grateful to the government that they have the opportunity to be able to. And now our interview with Leo Varadkar about this, and I was like, I can't believe that our media is that captured. That just like he can get away with this. He can go on TV. And he was just, I remember he told like an open lie and then she kind of delicately pushed back on it. And then he got really obstinate as he's wont to do.
Yeah,
And,
he really flipped out a lot over COVID. Like,
Yeah.
do you remember when he, do you remember like it was, the whole thing would be like, the government would say one thing and then Netflix would leak something that said the opposite.
Yeah.
And that was just how everything got communicated.
Yeah,
It was through
exactly.
like, and then, do you remember Rock on, was it Claire Byrne?
Yes.
And just like lost the plot.
With Tony Houlihan and said
And-
he doesn't understand. He doesn't have to balance the things that we have to balance.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like,
Because why do you balance the snot in your nose?
yeah. When you bounce it on
Into
the
your
end of your
mouth.
freaking finger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Into your mouth.
But yeah, I think it would be worth uploading them again. But here's the thing: I was like, oh yeah, I'd worth uploading some of them, but I'd have to listen to make sure that all of them. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I don't ever want to hear my. Because the other thing you don't want to hear is yourself. Because this is before Biden was president. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's before there was all these things where we were like with Leo Varadkar, with Leo the Leak and stuff like that. We were like, this has got to do something though, right?
I think one thing I've learned from this podcast is that I'm very bad at predicting. Like, so I've just stopped. And sometimes I'll find myself being like, I think this is going to happen. And I'll go, but I was wrong about all of these things. So I'm just not going to have an opinion on this one.
Yeah.
Because even if I then correct and I go the other way,
Yeah.
I'm still going to be wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm just...
But usually what it would be is like, we're living on an infinite timeline and eventually things have to get better. So how are they going to get better? And after the few years doing the podcast, or like, and the years of doing the podcast, and then the years of just living in this world, and especially at the end of 2023 with Israel. I don't know if you heard that, listeners. That door slam. They love slamming that door downstairs.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious.
It's crazy. Also, why do they hang their coats on the outside of their door?
I don't know that. I'm really
That
sure
drives you
about that.
crazy. And I don't even live here.
Okay. I hope that they don't hear this. And sometimes they can hear us through the door, so I'm going to be very careful, right? But like, my neighbors also do not lock their door.
Really?
They don't lock it. They're like, oh, it's fine. I mean,
It's like, are you on crack?
but anyhow,
Like if
fair play to
it's
them.
here, you've come out and there's like blood and needles
oh yeah.
on
There
the.
is-
It's like,
My neighbor was quite funny because like my neighbor came out and there was a guy shooting up on the doorstep. He's like, man, what are you doing? Yeah, I'll be out here in a second. And he's just like, no, like don't.
Yeah.
And the other's like, no problem. I'll be out of here in 2 seconds. And he injected, and apparently like a spurt of blood just shot out and like
Oh,
landed on the wall
fucking
next
hell.
to my neighbor. Who's like, I'm going to work, man. You know.
yeah.
That's so fun. I love the way he tells his story. It's just that idea of this guy going, like, that's actually no problem. No, this is the problem. I don't want you
Yeah.
I don't want you shooting up in front of me on my doorstep.
Yeah.
You know? Although the few times that I've gone out, like and I've seen something like that, it's actually just filled me with complete despair.
It reminds me of when I was in hospital and with sepsis, the thing that keeps killing me. They had to take my blood every day, and taking blood should take a minute
Yeah.
max. And there was one guy who was very obviously hungover, and it took him half an hour.
Yeah.
And it was just like blood pouring down my arm, like covering my hand, like dripping on the floor. And he was just like, one day he just went for a walk. It was
Yeah,
like, I'll
yeah.
be back in a minute.
It's very. I went to the doctor, and then this is after I had my wisdom teeth removed, and they had like put a. What would you put in there? Like a little. That's not a catheter. Catheter's for pissing, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the thing they put in your arm or your hand?
Cannula?
Do you know, like a little.
Cannula.
Okay. Well, whatever. They put the thing in, and then it had a bruise, and then the doctor was like looking at it because I had to go in for some sort of complication with it. But anyway, the doctor was looking at it, and he's just like, "What's this bruise?" Like, he's like, "God, where'd you get this done?" He's got like, but you go into medical professionals. I'm just getting at, and you just kind of presume, "Oh yeah, I'm in safe hands," and then
Yeah.
you have that rude awakening when somebody goes, "What the fuck is that?" And then you go, "There's some man, some guy. It wasn't a doctor. It was just some guy working on." A doctor is just a guy.
Yeah.
But what was I saying though before that door slam? Like an episode of Malcolm in the Middle over here. Am I right? For the real heads.
Oh, see,
Just every time they cut the break, they would have a door slam.
Oh, right. I thought you meant because Frankie Muniz can't remember anything. And you were trying to remember what you were talking about.
Yeah, because he forgot big parts of his life. That's
Yeah.
just like you. It's like it's so dark to me.
Why
Yeah,
is that? It's because his head is so big or something.
Yeah.
It's because his head is so big.
I think he got a bunch of like mini strokes essentially.
And is that why his head's so big? The other way he's a
Probably
big
a
forehead.
contributing factor.
Yeah.
I would say like I wouldn't be surprised if he had like growth suppressants or something like that because like the way he looks is very unusual.
Giant head.
He's a giant
forehead.
head.
Very high hairline.
Yeah, I was going
Makes
to
it
say his
worse.
hairline as well.
That's
very
the worst
conservative.
combination.
Mm.
Big. What are you looking at?
No, I'm not looking at anything. Sorry.
Big forehead, high hairline.
Yeah. No, I just remember when he went to the tent city. That your man, remember that like incredibly racist Sheriff Joe Arpaio
Yeah.
years ago? And Frankie Muniz is like, great to see all these migrants suffering. This is great.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, Malcolm.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But the thing I wrote
And
down...
he sort of spikes his hair up as well, which sort of just makes it look bigger.
Does he still spike his hair up?
I don't think he has that much hair left.
I'm going to look up the tweet that he had about the lion. You know that one?
The what?
Like he put out this tweet about a lion and a lamb.
Oh, yeah.
What was that again?
He was like, I'm a lion, you were a lamb.
No, something like the lion cares not for the opinions of the lamb or
Yeah,
something.
but what was it
It
regarding?
was something very funny like that. But the fact that it was Frankie Muniz was the funny part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, brother. Not Frankie Muniz. Oh, I'm surprised it wasn't taken. One time I was on a bus actually heading to Cork years and years ago, and there was a guy, and he just looked over, he's on his phone, he's just looking at a giant picture of Frankie Muniz on his phone.
Researching.
I was going to say, though, just finish about drugs, that the thing that I liked about, I get romantic about drugs because I was watching, in V for Vendetta, in the original comic, he's like, doesn't know how this crime has happened. He knows that there's some conspiracy. So the detective who was played by Stephen Ray in the movie shows up at this place, Larkhill, and then drops a bunch of acid and walks around and starts to see the history of the place and imagine these things. And I was like, wow, acid sounds amazing. I'd love to do that. This is incredible. It's amazing to look at the most traumatic uses of drugs and be like, wow, that sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do you know that you can get a forehead reduction surgery now?
Somebody should tell freaking Frankie Muniz.
Get Frankie Muniz up.
Sorry. Oops. Fuck. Sorry. I accidentally opened
For
something.
some reason, whenever I see a forehead like that, I just can imagine cracking it with a hammer. You know what I mean? Just like, bonk.
Yeah, there's certain like visual things on people where it's like, the one that had the best was in Peep Show, where like your man had like a big spot and then like a really ugly spot. Do you remember Jared?
Yeah.
And then Mark's just thinking, I could really go to town on that thing. He's like, give me a warm flannel and give me an hour with that bad boy. And like I don't have that with spots, but I saw this guy. There's this guy who I met who had like a kind of cyst on his face, and I was just like, I want to get that fucking.
For some reason, I thought that like someone pulling out their own tooth would look satisfying.
Oh.
And I saw a guy do it, and it was really painful.
There's a guy I know who's in Sligo, who's a bit of a hippie, and he went to a pirate dentist. And what they do is they give you a bunch of rum, and then they just get a pliers in there and then fucking pull out your teeth. So he pulled it out. He's like, wow, pretty cool. Bit of gum on this one. I was like, ugh. When I heard the bit of gum, that drove me over the edge. Like the idea of a pirate dentist, there's still, you can take the man out of Galway, but there's still a bit of Galway in me that was like, pirate dentists.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. What would that be like? And then once I saw the bit of gum, I was like, no.
A bit of gum. That's crazy.
Let's look up some politics. Let's look up a list of... We had the list. We got the papers today.
Let me get the list.
This is called What's in the Papers. Okay. But what was the thing they used to have on... I don't know why I'm asking this because you told me you didn't listen to Radio 1. But I had to listen to Radio 1 going in the morning, and they had a section called What It Says in the Papers. Okay,
do you have that on the news as well?
That's what I mean, yeah. On the news?
On the TV news.
Do they?
Yeah.
Don't remember that. But, I mean, maybe on Sky News, maybe like 24-hour news.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this would be like in the morning, and what they would do is they would read out the newspaper headlines. The Sun says this, the Sun says this, and you just... I remember taking that for granted, but then somebody I knew who wasn't from Ireland was like, they just... On the news, they just read out the papers.
Yeah, but they just read the headlines. So then they don't read the whole thing.
Yeah, but you're kind of like... But you're in the news. You just read the news. You don't need to read the other people's news, you know?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Maybe it is good. Maybe it is good to get like... I mean, in theory, if we had like a diverse media of opinions and voices, and it'd be like, well, this paper says this, and they have this bias, or this paper says this.
I don't even mean like that. I just think it's useful. It's just good. It's just more news,
I suppose. But the thing that they did that drove me mad, that made me, that kind of sort of radicalized me against establishment politics.
Yeah.
Was when they would do the funny story at the end that would drive me crazy.
Yes.
In the what we say in the because like whatever about like, you know, TV news where they'd be like, and then the store shop clerk was brutally murdered. And now on a lighter note, we have they've opened an exhibition in somewhere in Dublin. I don't know, like there's some silly story, whatever. Like just to get you out, get you home on a high note. But what they would do in the what we said in the papers is they would have the most smug South Dublin person to like going like, I put it up online actually, which is that, you know, that bit from Father Ted in the episode where, you know, the author comes to the island and Ted fancies her.
Yeah.
I always thought that if Joyce, Keats and Lawrence were sitting in a room together and Dostoevsky walked in, there'd be a hell of a fight for the last piece of pudding.
That's what it was like. They would have like, here's what's happened in the news. The banks did this, the fucking government did this, and then on a lighter story, you know, a marble statue over in the fucking art museum. Good Lord. I wish I could riff better. Wish I could improvise a little better.
Just try it. Give it a shot. Just take 5 seconds.
All right, give me a second. Sorry. Something that ruined me when I was a kid was I used to take time to think of things and say them, okay?
Yeah.
And then this kid I was having an argument with, I was about to coin the most perfect rejoinder.
Can you remember the rejoinder?
I can't even remember what we were arguing about.
Okay.
But the thing was, she said...
TRA.
She went... she went... oh God, you're taking so long to think of stuff. You can't think of something? You can't think of it? And she just like...
Expert move.
Destroy it. Like I was... Anyway, after that, I was like, it's better to be fast than to be funny. And now it's completely ruined my life. Okay?
Yeah.
Because now I'll be like, come up with something really quick.
Yeah.
Be really sharp, be really snappy. And then every time I've even taken a second to think of something, it's been infinitely better. So, so now let's take a second to think about this.
Just think of something light and maybe funny.
From 2006.
Well,
that would have been the time when I've been listening to it.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm trying to think because I don't know if it's gone now. The type of...
Well, it could be like, in other news, the host of Paisean Faisean
Yes.
is a Jehovah's Witness and wouldn't let the gay lads...
I can't believe that was real. That sounds like such an urban legend.
Yeah, it was mad that my sister was spot on about that one. Where'd she even hear it? Like,
so like last night we were like, oh, let's watch some like goofy shit on the telly.
Yeah.
And then James was like, have you ever watched Paisean Faisean? I was like, no. It's like, wow, it's like a game. It's like a show from the
like
early 2000s.
Yeah. Celtic Tiger, because each lad gets 400 quid.
Yeah.
It's 3 lads. And they go to a boutique shop.
Yeah.
And they get 400 quid to buy an outfit for one girl. And then the girl has to choose which outfit she likes best.
Yeah.
And then she goes on a date with the guy who built that outfit. And she has to wear the outfit.
Yeah. And it's really, because you hear that and you think, oh wow, that'll be really interesting just to watch as a goof.
Yeah.
But the crucial component is that it's in 2006.
Yeah.
And when you see like the clothes, the fucking heads on those people.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm 24 years old and I'm a student in Galway and they look about 65.
It's so mad. Like there was one woman, she was like, I'm 20. Like I was literally like, oh, they got a middle-aged woman. They got like a 40-year-old woman. She's like, I'm a 24-year-old student in Galway. Liar.
Yeah. Crucial part as well. Sorry, it's in Irish also.
Yeah.
So that also limits the amount of people that you can get to only the fucking weirdest people ever.
And I feel like there were 3 approaches.
Mm.
There was like the lad who would dress the person up like, or it was really 2.
Yeah.
They needed to dress them up like their mother, the only woman they know, or just like slut it up completely.
A lady of the night.
Not, like porno man.
They genuinely looked like Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you put a feather boa and then, there
was one who was like a mini skirt and like a cut off blouse
Yeah.
and then a bra.
Yeah. And then what happens is that the girls are like, look at the outfits and like, well, this is crap, or this is great, or this is whatever. And then the lads show up, and then one of them would be a fucking stud, and then the other one would be an absolute yokel.
There's always a yokel, a stud, and a gay guy.
Yeah. A gay guy who cannot be gay because it's 2006.
Yeah.
And so like after she's done this, she'll be like, oh, that was awful. But then she'll see the guys, and then she'll be like, but is that guy the type of guy who would buy this outfit?
Yeah.
So that she tries to figure that out. So then she walks out wearing like the ugliest outfit there, and then the ugly guy steps forward. And
yeah. The woman always seemed miserable.
yeah. Like, oh yeah, he's all right. He's all right. I guess we could hang out sometime, maybe. Like, that's the thing that's also funny about it, is that most of these shows are like, you know, Sandra and Dan met up 2 times after that. Unfortunately, there was no spark, or like, hey, they said something could happen. You never hear about, like, you see them on the date, and then they go, oh, it's good to have a bit of a chat and eat some food with somebody who's okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's nothing. There's no hint of like, maybe they'll meet up again, or maybe.
I was also surprised by the amount of the lads who were like, oh, she seemed nice, but I'm not into her. I didn't think that type of lad existed.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
all the lads were like, oh, I want a girl who's good looking, but also has a nice personality.
Yeah.
Because that used to be the line.
Yeah.
You always had to be like, it was just the period after where you had to be like, don't care what you like, she just has to be good looking. Lads knew they had to say something.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, I hope she has a good personality.
Yeah.
It's just surprising to me that the lads were like, I didn't like her that much.
And it's also insane that some of it, like some of the stuff that they said that was very, I don't even think it was of the time, but like there was one massive oaf in Galway.
He was so big. And then the outfit he chose was like, it was like all the outfits looked crazy because of the era.
Yeah.
But it was really thoughtfully put together.
Yeah.
Like most of the lads, it was like a dress, shoes, or
Yeah.
jeans and a nice top.
Yeah.
Whereas his was like layers and like bits of jewelry
Yeah.
and stuff.
And they came in and they asked him like, oh, so how are you getting on? He's like, yeah, I just texted some friends and they were giving me some advice. It's
Yeah.
like, that shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
You should have to, the fun of the show should be you as an idiot just picking out these
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
But anyway, he did that. But they asked him like, you know, are you excited to be on the show? And he's like, it's easier than going to Thailand and picking up a girl.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fucked up, man. You're talking about sex trafficking. Like, that's the implication there, isn't it?
I think it's more like mail order bride.
Yeah, but that's sex trafficking.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Sex trafficking is kidnapping.
No, it's, well, I mean, okay. Maybe I don't want to get into the definition. I don't care enough to argue about it. Let's just put it that way. But I understand that when you say sex trafficking,
like,
it evokes quite a lot.
There's like a trick involved.
Yeah.
You could say it's sexual tourism.
Okay. But anyhow,
Actually, what's the problem with that?
yeah, what is the problem with that? But what was I saying? Was I saying anything interesting? No, we were talking about.
You were saying,
Yeah, I was just saying we were just trying to coin something from Passion for Fashion that would be in. Oh yeah, but that was it. So James, like, apparently the host of this show is a Jehovah's Witness, and so she didn't want to do an all gay episode, and then she left the show. And then we were like, that sounds like such a makey up thing.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and it's completely true. She's a Jehovah's Witness, an
Yeah.
Irish speaking, like West of Ireland Jehovah's Witness. Well,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know if she's West of Ireland. I shouldn't have said that, but
I think she was.
well, she was, because she said something about Connemara, like, you're from my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
So that is unusual to have a Jehovah's Witness. Like, if somebody was like, oh, she was Catholic and she didn't want to do it because there's gay guys
That's
in it.
it, yeah.
But there was the Jehovah's Witness that just made it even weirder.
I don't remember somebody. Oh yeah, then we were looking up. They just wondered what about the gay one wasn't all that good. 'Cause then they brought it back
Yeah.
and they had 2 hosts.
Yeah, they were like,
And,
we replaced that lady, and then
two.
we were just like, this is so unfortunate that the show is not good anymore, because
Yeah.
she was like such a warm personality, and she was a very, like, I mean, I hate to say this, but like, just her figure for like a TV show host was also unusual to me. Like, she kind of looked like somebody's auntie, do you know?
she had the vibe of like But the issue with the two, my point is that like she seemed to enjoy that the lads were lads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she expected them to be sexist, but
Yeah.
found it sort of funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she was like, "Of course, lads don't know anything about dresses.
Yeah.
That's insane."
I mean, that's the whole premise of the show.
Whereas the second double act,
Yeah.
one of them did not care, the blonde one.
Yeah.
And then the brunette one, she didn't seem to like anything.
Well, they're just really dry, but also they're like quite glam was the other thing. That was,
Yeah.
whereas having this kind of like, and like, this is, I don't know whether this is a real stupid point, but the energy that the other one had was also uniquely Irish in a way
Yeah.
that you don't see with a lot of hosts, you know?
The hosts from the second one, they reminded me of, I don't know if you got it out in Teray, but it was called like, it was on TV3. It was called like Glamour One Extra.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. What was
And
that?
it was like the worst blue screen you've ever seen. Like everyone had like a blue glare on their face.
Yeah, or like kind of a halo of like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they do like, this is an outfit that you can wear to the office and then to the club. You know, all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
stuff.
They're just, but like, do you know who's a good example? You remember that one she used to host? Do you remember when there used to be a Channel 6? Do you remember that? For a
Yes.
brief time. And there was a show, a music show, and it was hosted by a lady who was on, which also another thing that used to exist, Phantom FM.
Oh yeah,
Michelle something. Does that make sense to you?
I didn't know her name.
Do you know what it is? And maybe this is...
I don't know the ladies' names. I just watch the shows.
I think what it is it's like South Dublin vibe versus just like a lady from Connemara is basically it. This kind of felt like she felt like an avuncular Banshee is going around
Yeah.
talking to them like lads.
That
Lads, what are you
is-
at? That's like, and he's like, oh, it's easier than going to Thailand. He's going to Thailand. You
Yeah.
cheeky thing, you. And then these other guys going like, you know, the straight laced ladies going like, it's easier than going to Thailand. They'd be like, right, Thailand is it? Yeah.
Whereas I don't know if you get it anymore, but there used to be people from Galway who desperately wanted to be from Dublin.
Oh yeah, no, oh, absolutely. I mean that's kind of what those ladies were like. Sheila Shoga was also one of the hosts
They were
as well.
the-
So
Yeah, they used to call them G4s.
that's funny. Is that really that true?
Yeah,
That's good. I remember I didn't know what D4 meant. Like I wasn't really sure, but when I was in secondary school, there was a guy who was a bit of like I don't know how to put it. We were just in like I had like hair past my ears, so that meant that I was a mosher, regardless of whether I wore like a black hoodie or had
Okay.
a fucking chain wallet. Okay.
yeah.
And then
So the other thing was how afraid all the women were of the color black.
yeah, that's very funny.
Like I forgot how back then, if you were black,
Then yeah, you're a mosher.
you're a goth.
Yeah.
And like it would just be like a black pair of jeans or a
Yeah,
black,
yeah.
and they'd be like, "That's a bit dour.
Yeah.
That's a bit," like as if it was like Marilyn Manson get up.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it might as
exactly.
well have been like a game pound thing.
And then the other one was like when they were wearing like if there was a slightly like if there was a tropical flower pattern, they'd be like, I wonder if he's looking for a bit of a surfer chick.
Yes.
And they loved saying surfer chick. That was but there was this fella, I don't want to put it like, but he was like I don't know, he's just like
Gay.
a normie like Nuts magazine fella from back in the mid
Nuts
2000s.
magazine. What's that?
Do you know like FHM and that type of shit back then, where it'd be like, you know, the like page 3 models,
No, I know what
football, Maserati, all that
yeah,
type of
but
shit.
what's like a nuts fella? Like, would he talk about that sort of stuff?
No, you just like kind of like what you'd see as a generic mid 2000s Irish teenage lad. Okay.
right.
But I just wasn't like that. For some reason, we became kind of friendly for a while. And he said he was going to take
The
me under
lion
his
and the
wing
lamb.
and help me pick up girls. Okay.
Right.
And he's like, when I'm done with you, and this is what he said, this is what I wanted to get to. When I'm done with you, you'll be able to pick up a D4 bird.
Really?
And I said, what's D4? And he's like, they're only the hottest women on the planet.
How old are you at this stage?
15.
Right.
So,
You probably hadn't been to Dublin or anything like that.
well,
You
it's just the idea of Dublin was a foreign
Exactly. You
concept.
just heard about it. Like,
Yeah, like I knew Dublin. I knew Dublin was a place, but then people, if you were on like, if you're watching TV, they would be like, oh, when you're down by the central bank, and you're like, what does that mean? That means nothing to me.
Yeah.
But everybody in Dublin presumes that everybody outside of Dublin knows a lot, knows all these things.
I was at this thing, it was like a reading group, and it devolved into people just talking about how, like, growing up, they were so different, basically.
Yeah.
And one guy was like, I used to hang out at Central Bank, and it was great. You meet all the outsiders, like, where you meet gay people.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think you knew gay people, you just didn't know they were gay.
I was just gonna say, like, there's so many, like, when I was in school, like, yeah, there was loads of gay people, but it was just like, either they didn't want to admit it, or I don't know. I mean, when I went to school, I wouldn't say it was tolerant, you know, but like, if somebody said they were gay, you'd be like, oh, okay. But it didn't stop you from doing like gay jokes and being what, you know.
I also found that, I don't know about anyone else, but I'd be like, coming out of school, I was like, yeah, school's pretty tolerant. There's no real bullying going on.
Yeah.
And then since then, I've spoken to people who went to school with me, and they were like, I was bullied mercilessly.
Yeah.
And I just didn't see it. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah.
No, I was bullied quite a lot in school, so I was very like exposed. But I also was
I
like,
see that.
you could smell it. No, it was what it was. Like, there's a lot of times where, like one of a very pivotal moment, because I was like, these guys fucking suck. I hate them. These are terrible. Blah, blah, blah. And then there was a guy. Maybe I've mentioned this before, but basically he was like massive bully, real piece of shit. Okay, and but it turned out he had like pretty severe ADHD. Okay.
Yeah.
And his grades in like English and maths were like some of the best in the entire school, but you wouldn't know it because of the way he was kind of carrying on. He didn't want that out there, basically. And he was mean, and well, he wasn't mean. He was kind of like they would have found him funny because he would like happy slap somebody, or you know, he'd fucking, you know, smash an orange into some guy's head, and it'd be like, that's funny, isn't it? Like all of these people were props in the jokes of him and his friends. And I was like, fuck this guy. And then, so anyway, they went to an open day in Limerick University. This is according to a friend of mine. He was kind of telling this as like a funny anecdote at the time. Yeah. He was going like, hear this? So like, I'm not going to say his full name, but his name was, I think it was Colin. Okay. Right. And, he's like, yeah, Colin was there, and he was just making fun of Mr. Regan the whole time. And he's like, sit down. And Colin's like, fuck you, eh? And everybody's laughing and having a great time at all this. And then my friend Alex, I'll give him a shout out. Shout out to Alex. Yeah. He was like, said he was on the bus going back to Galway, and he was sitting in front of Colin, and there was a girl sitting next to him, and she was like consoling him. He had his head in his hands, and he was going like, everybody fucking hates me. Everybody hates me. Everybody. I'm a fucking idiot. I'm a fool. And she's like, no, they don't. They're laughing. They think you're funny. Why are you like? And I was just like, this guy is just carrying so much that I had no idea about at all. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, you're just kind of like, you're only there for like a short period of time. So like, if somebody is like falling short of like stabbing you with a Swiss Army knife, maybe just like let them throw a fucking orange at the back of your head.
Just say thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny. That's how I feel every time I get off stage.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, everybody hates me. I've just made a fool of
myself. I feel like that every time I leave a conversation with some of my closest friends. Like, you left the house and I'd be there for half an hour. You fucking idiot. You moron. And I was like, I don't know how I get rid of that. I wish I could. I wish that wasn't in my head, honestly. Yeah. But anyway, that was plenty of time to think of a great joke that would be in what it says in the papers, all right?
Okay, I'm gonna get the paper. You...
Okay, I'll do the joke, right? So it'd be like... Central Bank announced today that the deficit has gone down such and such. The Sun declares that it's this and that and the other. The Mirror says this. But closing out the day, Paisean Faisean has found its host embroiled in the latest scandal. Once she's revealed to be a Jehovah's Witness who didn't want to do an all-gay episode. It could be said that all men, pass back to the host, and then thanks for that, Miriam. Yeah. And you're just like, shit. I don't need a joke. I just wanted to get that rhythm the way that they said things, you could just rely on them to have like some smug one-liner at the end where they're going like,
Yeah.
and I was like, I hate this. I hate these people. I hate their world. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. Okay, so I hope you heard all that crinkling newspaper there, because that means that James is getting ready to read something from the paper.
We could probably get it online, but
But the sound is good. It's tactile. Okay.
it was.
I also think that it's good to get the papers. I think maybe like as much as I hate giving these people money, it would be cool to have the papers just so you have it in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it helpful.
Yeah.
But it was top political players to watch in 2024.
This one is wild. Just with I haven't read it, but the picture and seeing the faces
Yeah.
there, you're like, fuck this.
Matt Cooper.
Matt Cooper is one to watch, or he wrote it?
He wrote it.
Yeah, well, we can expect nothing but the best from this absolute gobshite. He is one of the stupidest fucking pundits. And the fact that he is like the centrist dad favorite is...
Yeah.
oh, God.
So from something like this, you're expecting like what? Just some alternative viewpoint.
I would like, let's say, not this. I don't, because I'm not clued in the way that you ideally you'd hope these people would be clued in. But let's say like 2019, 2020 election, Hazel Chu recently put in one to watch. Hazel Chu is coming out.
Some sort of knowledge that not everybody has.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So first political player to watch in 2024.
Yeah, here we go.
Leo Varadkar.
I don't know. I think he's got something.
The T-shirt.
We'll see.
The current T-shirt. Number 2, Micheál Martin. The Toners. Number 3.
Ones to watch. Can we just say, all right, so 2024 is probably going to be the year of the election.
Yeah. I think it... Does it have to be?
Well, I think that they can push it until like January or February of next year, can't they? Or am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I think government can only be in for 5 years. So I guess I would put it
I can't believe
February.
they've been in for 5
Stop.
fucking years. And I can't believe that cunt came back as well. Vradkar back. Do you
Yeah.
remember when he was gone and it was like, he cannot come back. He cannot come back. And now he's back and it's like, oh. But like, the thing is, Vradkar is one thing. Okay, Vradkar, like, you could still delude yourself into thinking he's some hot shit cyber prick.
Yeah.
But Micheál Martin is a busted flush. He is a spent force.
Yeah.
He is on the way out. He is. It was like, keep an eye out on this young whippersnapper, Micheál Martin, whose party hates him, and he's going to go into a general election where he'll probably eat shit.
Yeah.
Or if he doesn't eat shit, he'll have to go into coalition with Sinn Féin, most likely, and be replaced by one of the most rabid racists in his party.
Yeah.
That'll probably be what happens.
It's funny, for the Leo Varadkar one, the first bit is the incumbent Taoiseach is always the first person that should be on a list of this type.
Why?
But then it goes, he'll most likely lose the next general election. That would imply he's not one to watch.
He's one to watch fail.
Yeah.
Like, then...
Micheál Martin, the great survivor of Irish politics. I don't see that. I don't really see that's a thing. Like, the only thing about Micheál Martin was that he hung around long enough to become leader of the party.
Yeah.
And then he hung around long enough to be... He just hangs around. And then he ran a not very successful government.
Yeah.
And now he's probably going to be out.
I think the thing about, like, being a survivor is also, like, well, he managed to hang on to his seat. And it's like... Enda Kenny called his entire constituency a bunch of whingers, and they voted him in because the way that the rest of the country sees politics is not like, I like this guy, he's got to go in. It's like, I don't give a shit about that. He's your problem. Okay.
Yeah.
If he goes, like, he did the job before, I guess he'll do it again. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know?
Number 3. Can you guess?
Do I want to guess number 3?
Why not? Yeah.
Eamon Ryan.
Mary MacDonald. The leader of the
Interesting.
third largest or the current largest party is third in the one to watch.
Yeah.
As opposed to Micheál Martin, who will definitely be out.
It is
Okay.
unusual because, like, this is since 2020, everybody has been like waiting for Sinn Féin to basically take the reins of power.
Yeah.
And they've kept pretty quiet about some very important stuff. They're making a few stirrings now that are very underwhelming to say the least. But ultimately they're doing the Starmer thing of just like, or the Micheál Martin thing of just waiting for the other side to fuck up enough so that I can step in.
Yeah.
Okay. And yet, but everybody knows at this point that like popular opinion is that this is their year. This is now the time where we're going to see if that actually is true.
Yeah.
And that's kind of exciting because it's a halt to the two-party duopoly to be the first female Taoiseach if she got in.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to, like, there's objectively, regardless of where you fall politically, that is actually one to watch. That is interesting. Yeah. There are outcomes there which are interesting to think about politically.
You think there could be a government? So say Sinn Féin does well.
Yeah.
Right? Could there be a government that's Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, the Greens, the Soc Dems, and a few independents?
I don't think the Soc Dems would do it because I think that. Well, maybe I'm naive, but I think. I'm definitely naive, but Holly Cairns would have seen what happened with Labour and with the Greens, and it's like, I'm a young woman and I can like lead this party for a long enough time, and if we're thinking in decades, then going into coalition with these people is just going to be detrimental.
Well, here's the thing, is that after 2011, you think Eamon Ryan would have seen what happened to the Greens?
Well, I just don't think Eamon Ryan sees himself as a Green. I think he sees himself as like a companion piece to...
Yeah, true.
He's basically just Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael. He's like, I'm a right winger, and my job in the party is to lower the political horizons of the Green movement, to professionalise that type of stuff. And also, like, I'll step in if it means that I get a bit more money and a bit more promise. You know,
what about...
Or privilege.
So my thinking is that Fine Gael will do anything to keep out Sinn Féin.
Yeah.
So what? Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Greens.
Yeah. Yeah, they proved that they do anything to keep out once they did that coalition in the first place.
Labour.
Yeah.
And a few
Labour's possible because Ivana Bacik, like, is desperate.
Ivana Bat shit.
Yeah. Just like that certain bat shit that landed on a pangolin in Wuhan in 2019. Almost said 2020.
Yeah. Thank God you didn't.
Yeah.
Michael McGrath, number 4. Thought he was leaving. Isn't he fucking off?
He doesn't do much for me. I don't think he's leaving. He's a non-entity to me. I don't know anything about him. I don't give a shit about him. Yeah. But like, he deserves to be on that list more than Micheál Martin deserves to be on that list.
I think you should be watching him through a sniper scope.
Yeah.
Pascal Donoghue.
Pascal Donoghue.
The man who's desperately trying to leave.
Pascal Donoghue is leaving. So
no, he's not.
Oh, well, he won't be able to because of the IMF.
One's not leaving.
Yeah. Okay.
What was that again?
Which?
What job was he going for?
The IMF. Head of the IMF.
And then your one who was supposed to be leaving
has decided she's not going anymore.
Yeah. So now Pascal Donoghue. He's a real loser, I think. For multiple reasons. He used to be head of Fianna Fáil. Fine Gael.
Was he head? He wasn't head.
He was leader.
Pascal Donoghue?
Yeah.
No, he wasn't.
Back in the Dizzy.
No, he wasn't. I'm looking this up now. I'm calling you out. I also hate that his name doesn't have a G, or in his Donoghue. Spelled Donohoe.
Yeah.
Should have a GH, you fucking posh prick.
Do you know why? Because he's Donahoe.
Am
I right?
You are. I'm looking it up here. No. What is it? He was saying, and he served as Minister for Finance 2017 to 2022, Minister for Public Expenditure 2016 to 2020. He was never leader of Fine Gael.
Look it up.
I am looking it up. It's not here.
Look up, was Pascal Donoghue leader of Fine Gael?
Oh, I typed that in and it says no.
You didn't.
Alright, fine. I'm going to type it in literally now. You can watch me.
I'm watching you in the reflection of the microwave. He's doing it, folks.
Leader. You done a poo. What about that? That's what they would have said in school. Pascal Donoghue.
Nah.
Right.
Not in my neck of the woods.
What wasn't he in?
We would have just said he's a great guy. Right by his country.
Salute him as he walked by in school.
As he walked into the school,
yeah.
into the changing rooms.
No, he's always been in the background. He's not leader. He's never been leader. And he never had any aspirations to be leader.
I don't know why I thought he was leader.
I mean, any of them could be. Who cares? Like,
When
they're
you
all
looked
the
up,
same guy.
Did you type in, was Pascal Donahue leader of Fine Gael?
I typed in literally exactly that, yeah.
And it said no.
It was an article from 2019 says Pascal Donahue rules himself out of leading Fine Gael.
So
And
who
he's
was leader before Enda Kenny?
John Bruton? That makes sense?
Look it up.
No, who's... Okay, listen.
Just look it up.
Do you know what? Why didn't I just type in leaders of Fine Gael? That's what I should have done to begin with.
Dick size.
Dick says this is a Fine Gael. That was me messing up a pronunciation and then pretending that it was an intentional accent.
Yeah. What were we watching yesterday? Someone kept pronouncing it Fine Gael.
Callan kicks the year 2023.
That's good. We have to talk about that.
We have to talk about
but
that.
That's on the private.
Lads, listen, we're at an hour now, but in the second hour, gloves
Are we
are
at
off.
an hour?
We're at an hour already.
Well, we have to finish this list, and then
We have to finish this list, but let me get these leaders of Fine
We
Gael.
were doing Callan's pricks.
God damn, that's good. Leaders of Fine Gael. First one, Owen O'Duffy.
Uh-oh.
Number 2, W.T. Cosgrave. Okay.
Glad they don't have Michael Collins. That annoys me so much. When like Barker has a portrait of Michael Collins.
Yeah.
Never get over it. The way he was like, he was a revolutionary who understood the value of the markets.
Richard Mulcahy, James Dillon, Liam Cosgrave, Gareth Fitzgerald, Alan Dukes, John Bruton, Michael Noonan, and then Enda Kenny.
Michael Noonan is who I was thinking of.
Yeah. You were saying that, there's certain heads that you think, you just go, God, I'd love to crack that open.
Yeah.
That's Michael. Every time I see Michael Noonan, and you cannot take me down you cannot take down the podcast.
Another one
over
is
that.
Stephen Donnelly. Because his looks like an egg.
Well, what I think about Stephen Donnelly is if I get a belt sander and just take that little bit off the top, That one drives me crazy. Ugh, sorry, Michael Noonan. It's also Michael Noonan who's responsible for the vulture funds coming in, according to Rory Hearn.
Michael Poohman.
Yeah, another one. Sorry, for some reason the second picture of Michael Noonan is him with a hideous black eye. Or he's got a condition.
Stephen Donnelly with hair, and somehow he looked even worse.
Oh, how does he look more bald with hair? All right.
Oh,
here's
Jesus.
Michael Noonan's head just before.
Yeah, I can see him in the.
Oh, you can see it now. I hate that head.
That's crazy headed. Basically, there's a target on it. Yeah, with one of those like the little hammers.
Yeah. Or
Like
just getting like a
peen hammer. Is that what they're called?
Yeah. Where it's like a dent in a car. Like
Yeah. So
all right, let's get this list. Let's
next
keep going.
one, Eamon Ryan. Very far down. Insultingly far down, someone say.
He shouldn't really be on the list at all, honestly, because it's another busted flush. You know what they should be doing? Put on Nessa Horrigan if you're going to do that. Like she's not one to watch either. But like if you're talking about like who's going to be the successor? Like, none of these are like successors to the party.
They're all just guys who are there. He seems highly rated outside of this country.
Who?
Eamon Ryan.
No, he doesn't. Shut up. These people, I've seen some articles in recent times where they're trying to like project some sort of personality or something onto Eamon Ryan, and it's just like so unconvincing.
It says here, Ryan is also clever enough. He's not.
Stop you there.
Stop you there. To know that national opinion polls don't necessarily reflect the prospects of TDs. Don't know that. Next one, Stephen Donnelly.
Matt Cooper, resign.
Yeah.
Like, I was saying to a
Kill
columnist,
yourself.
I genuinely believe this. You should not be allowed to be a columnist for more than like 3 or 4 years. And then after that, you
Yeah.
should be forced to leave and be
Yeah.
replaced by somebody who's actually paying attention. Okay.
Yeah. The Ivana Bacik.
I know that he'd put Ivana Bacik on there. Obviously, it's wrong as well, but that's still in with the list. If you're going to talk about like, oh yeah, don't rule them out. We got to keep an eye on that person. She's going places. I mean,
Like-
she more so than Vradker or whatever.
She's new. To the
Exactly. Yeah.
Holly Cairns.
Yeah. I mean, that's another one. Holly Cairns should have been number 1. What the fuck?
This one's really good. Michael D. Higgins. I was saying this to you yesterday. He's not going to be alive. Like, he's so old. He's going to be dead by the end of 2024.
But like they can't help but betray the stuff that they're obsessed with, where it's like Michael D. Higgins said something about Ukraine and something about Palestine, and they're like, this is unprecedented. What about, and they wrote articles about how, what if Peter Casey got in there and started saying stuff about travelers? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, like, they for some reason have said that the presidential office is this important ceremonial position where you're supposed to get up there, say absolutely nothing of value, and then go away. And then he's done that 2 terms. On the way out, he's a fucking 100 years old.
Yeah.
And then they're like, watch out for this guy. It's like, come on, man.
Like, he has to leave the presidency after this term. And he's not doing anything else.
Yeah, and he's entering, he's going to re-enter mainstream politics or something.
I said as well, they have him down as Labour, but he's independent.
Yeah.
And then there are 3 pretenders to the throne.
What does that mean?
Like, ones to watch, essentially.
Pretenders to the throne.
That is the phrase. I know it doesn't sound right.
But does he say that?
He does.
But what does he mean? To what? To what throne?
He really means the throne of Fine Gael.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. All right, I get you.
Simon Harris,
All right.
Helen McEntee,
I think, yeah,
the most unpopular woman in the country.
she almost had it if it wasn't for, like,
Her whole way of getting on.
well, she's just like,
She was never like people hate, no, rightly or wrongly. I would say wrongly. You
Yeah.
might say rightly, but people didn't like her because she took maternity leave.
I thought that there was a lot of interesting angles, like if we're talking about, like, I'm just going to say it in brackets, woke shit, okay?
Yeah.
Which is like, wow, she did that. I've said this before, but you know, she did pass that law, which is actually called Coco's Law, okay?
But the
About
monkey who can speak
image-based-
sign language. language.
It was image-based sexual violence, where it made that a crime, and then
That's one of those things where it should have always been. It should be a crime. Like, it's, you just assume it's a crime.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's why they have a whole ad campaign where they go, "That's actually a crime." You're like, really? I thought that was all. Like, actually, the way people have responded, going, "I didn't know that was a crime," whereas it should be, "I thought that was already a crime." That should be the ad campaign.
Yeah.
But like, she was doing like these little moves like that, and I even think that the maternity leave helped in that way as well, because it was like, you know, the partnership with Holly Cairns, where Holly Cairns
I
took
don't
her
like
vote.
what Holly. I don't like that Holly Cairns did that.
Neither do I. But like, I think that the moves that they were making were similar to when like Simon Harris became the champion of abortion rights and also mental health. Remember, he's on like a stage with Blind Boy at Electric Picnic in
So
2017.
It's so mad. Mental health is one thing because doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
They've successfully, like, nerfed mental health.
Yeah.
Abortion.
Yeah.
Like, he really just walked in at the end wearing a repeal jumper.
Yeah.
It was like, I've been here from the start, boys. You know?
And then the other thing that he did was, this was surprising now, but he actually did set up a panel of trans activists and advocates to try and figure out proper trans healthcare.
Yeah.
And then once the coalition took over, then they were like, oh yeah, fuck that. And they just threw it away. So Noah Halpin was talking about how, like, they were so close to having something. And he did, to his credit, this is Noah Halpin, I believe, at one point saying this. Sorry, Noah, if I'm putting words in your mouth. But like, if you listen. But they were like, he opened the door for that conversation to happen. But there was those moves that were being made and those attempts at being that type of socially progressive Fine Gael while being extremely fiscally conservative.
Yeah.
And yet, it backfired for McEntee because she had law and people just at one point, I would say the visible symptoms of the housing crisis got so great that people were like, I don't feel safe anymore, and that means that Helen McEntee is bad and to blame.
Yeah,
and that's it. And it's just like if it wasn't for her entire government, then maybe she might have had a swing at it. But I don't know if it's entirely down to her, is what I'm saying.
And the last one is Jennifer Carroll McNeil.
She sucks. She's going to become like, we'll still be living with her 20 years from now.
Yeah.
And she'll be on News Talk just giving horrendous opinions that she couldn't say in government. And she says some pretty horrendous stuff already.
Yeah. I used to think that about Josefa Madigan.
Yeah.
And she's sort of...
Yeah, she's just disappeared. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she didn't want it enough. I think that Jennifer Carroll O'Neill or someone like Neil Richmond as well could like end up making it happen.
Neil Richmond is too stupid.
He's such...
Like, he's too much for Westborough, even for Finnegan.
Yeah, for RTE.
For
They're
Finnegan
like,
Whale.
You're even an alien to me. And
Yeah.
it's like...
Yeah.
I
Like,
wore
he would literally
black
be
after the
like-
Queen died.
Yeah. He'd be like, we should have to kiss King Charles's ring.
Yeah. No, he genuinely said that Ireland should rejoin the Commonwealth because it would be more strategic for it business-wise.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's constantly reaching out to unionists but he'll do like sketches with Tyg Hickey, which is another reason that Tyg Hickey,
Really?
you're freaking cancelled, baby.
Yeah.
Huh?
He sketches with Tyg Hickey.
Yeah, these are from either a year or a few years. I within recent years anyway, he did a sketch with Tyg Hickey, and then Tyg Hickey is meant to be like, I'm a Republican and I'm a big piece of shit, and he's like some South Dublin posho who loves rugby, and we do a cultural exchange, and it was like just the worst stuff ever. And it's like that trend in the UK at the moment where like they're trying to, now that Corbyn's been defeated, it's like, we're going to reach across the aisle and talk to, Rory Stewart's going to talk to Alistair Campbell, and we're going to try and pretend that there are differences between us again.
Yeah.
And that we just need to get around the table and hash it out. That's the most important thing. But anyway, that's the goal of the sketches of Tyg Hickey. I don't know, whatever fucking. I'm just going to say this real quick, just because we mentioned Eamon Ryan, but there was remember I said that they're trying to make him out to be somebody that he's like not.
Yeah.
Headline in 29th of December 2023 for the Irish Examiner. Eamon Ryan, Sinn Féin will not get rid of carbon tax because party knows it's working. And I was like, is there a carbon tax? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
he's trying to pretend like they're coming after my legacy.
Yeah.
And don't worry, they know that it's working and they're not going to get it. And it's just like, shut up.
Yeah.
Go back to your Game Boy. You're not doing anything.
What was it? Carbon credit tax?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Isn't it one of the examples of like what they call climate colonialism?
Yeah.
Where it's like, basically you just end up buying the carbon credits of poorer countries.
Yeah.
And then they have to pay a fine if they go over.
Yeah.
So it's really just a way of keeping the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So it's not even good.
It's like it's not in any way confrontational to capitalism or any of the forces that we need to confront to make sure that this doesn't happen. It's like, hey guys, we'll give you some money to not do this thing, and then they take the money and then they go, well, maybe what we won't, but we kind of will. But also,
it's also like a child's reasoning, as if you could like, when we're 6 feet underwater, everyone will be like, well, we did the carbon credits.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll read out what it is. Sinn Féin will not abolish the carbon tax if it goes into government, as doing so would be insane, Environment Minister Eamon Ryan has said. Mr. Ryan said he believes Sinn Féin needed to dramatically up its game on climate, correct, and the environment. I mean...
Well, so do you.
Yeah, exactly. You shut the fuck up. But he would not rule out going into government with the party in the future. I'll have anybody, man. First, Sinn Féin will not get rid of the carbon tax. Like, that's absolutely clear, Mr. Ryan said. Sinn Féin, every budget says, we are opposed to an increase in carbon tax. We pocket all the money and all the gains again from last year because Sinn Féin knows that it is really working. It works for the poor people in this country, Mr. Ryan added, citing the portions that go towards social welfare, retrofitting, and farming. 30% goes towards social... whatever.
Farmers aren't poor, by the way.
There is like some
No.
poorer farmers, but
Well,
like
every farmer has land.
yeah, like I would say that like my heart doesn't bleed for the poor farmers
Yeah.
because there are people who are actually have real problems.
Like if you're a poor farmer and you're hungry, go out, just suck a milk from a
Yeah, that's
cow's
what they do.
dick or whatever.
Eat like the potatoes out of the ground
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah,
Or like have some of that grass. It was good for the cows and it's good for you.
that's it.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was funny because I've seen a number
Eat
of
some
attempts
grass and
and
milk your dick.
but like Eamon Ryan, what I know about him, he said to grow lettuce on your windowsills. He
Yeah.
said that free public transport will encourage more unnecessary journeys, which by the way, the bus only leaves. The bus is going to leave regardless of whether the person decides to take the journey.
Yeah.
So that's already going to happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the Lewis is already free.
As we all know.
The Lewis
So,
is,
as we all know, hashtag from 2022, Lewis is free.
why did that take off?
I don't know.
Like honestly, on Tinder,
Yeah.
people have been like, your favorite fact: the Lewis is free.
I think that was the last gasp of Daily Edge Twitter. That was
Is
just
that
like,
what? Is that what? Like,
that's what it felt like to me.
uh,
But like the other thing he did,
people should carpool in rural areas. That was
yes,
another one.
lame, ineffective cycle lanes, saying the N word, falling asleep.
Yeah.
Like that's the way I associated with him. Whereas they're trying to be like, he's actually a pretty shrewd operator. And he's like, no, he's a fucking mudguard. He's a
Yeah.
useful idiot, and I emphasis on idiot.
Yeah. I sort of felt bad for him over the N word thing. Like
I didn't really.
It was I thought it was a good example of like his benign idiocy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like he was trying to be good.
Yeah,
And like he really could have been.
yeah,
Because he was like, here's an example of racism in the country.
yeah.
And here's a letter. And then he just said like it was
You just
in.
read it out. Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
No, I do. I know.
Like a smarter man wouldn't have said it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But
yeah. I think at the time I played this clip, but I'm going to drop it in again of Robert De Niro saying,
Listen, if you didn't know you're being scammed, you're too fucking dumb to keep this job. If you did know you were in on it, either way, you're out. Get out. Go on, let's go.
but the type of like benign racism where like most of these guys didn't know it was a bad thing to say that.
Yeah.
Like when you have like Enda Kenny doing that joke with the N word, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to say that." It's like you should know that. But I know that a person like you does not know that.
Yeah.
Or like, what's her name? Mary O'Rourke with they worked like blacks.
yeah, so, but even then, with the difference is like, what was the joke Andy Kenny said?
I think he
for
said
word.
something about
Word
N-word
for
on a
word.
wood pile or something. N-word? What's that? Don't know it.
Yeah,
Do you want
say
to
it to me.
do you want to elaborate?
Say it to me again. Like those two phrases are about. They are ultimately mocking.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas Eamon Ryan was just like reading the letter where a black guy is like,
Yeah.
people are calling me the N word.
Yes. Yeah, he was like, this is disgraceful. Tut, tut,
Yeah.
tut.
Whereas Eddie Kenny was like, it's funny.
Yeah, he was making a joke of it. I really don't want to type in the actual word, but I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to find the article.
What word?
The action. Whoa, I almost said it. Where was it? It was in The Guardian, I remember. But the phrase was N-word in the woodpile, which
That's-
again sounds like just ancient. Like, why is that in your vernacular? Do you know?
Yeah. That's just a phrase.
I've never heard it.
A common everyday phrase. No.
Oh, here we go. 2002. Fury at Kenny joke spreads from The Guardian. The family of Patrice Lumumba, the assassinated first Prime Minister of Congo, have demanded an apology from the Fine Gael leader Enda Kenny, who called...
Where did he tell this joke?
Huh?
Where did he tell this joke?
Well, this is what they're about to reveal.
Okay.
From the Fine Gael leader Enda Kenny, who called the revered African liberation hero and they have it written here, but I'm not going to say it, an N-word
What the fuck?
in a racist joke.
I thought he was just telling a pub joke.
Okay, actually, now the context has changed somewhat.
Yeah, I literally thought it was like some like Bernard Manning joke. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
bad. I'm supposed to call in like a real guy the N-word.
Yeah.
It's fucking awful.
Where is this? I'm trying to find the thing.
Like in 2002, that was not in any way acceptable.
No.
Like
If it was about somebody specifically.
like a real person.
Yeah. Kenny made the remarks at a private function in Dublin during a speech to party workers and journalists earlier this month.
Made it in a speech.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Gets worse
I
and
thought you
worse.
knew he did it in a speech.
In my head, I was literally like, he told it in a pub.
It actually gets worse. Sorry, surprisingly, it gets worse. During an anecdote about a holiday in Portugal, he said a Moroccan barman with shiny teeth had been asked why a
No.
cocktail was called a Lumumba and replied it was named after some N-word who died, Dan's Laguerre.
In the war.
Dan Laguerre? Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, Dan's Laguerre. Dan's
Who's
Laguerre.
that?
Sorry.
That's mad. That's insane. That's
Kenny
completely
initially
insane.
asked reporters at the function not to report his remarks, and to the astonishment of some of his commentators, a number of newspapers agreed. The Irish Sunday Independent, however, reported the story, and last week Kenny admitted he was wrong to have used the word and claimed his party was committed to diversity.
So
In
no.
2002. Imagine saying that.
Yeah.
I don't think
just-
even Radker was in there in 2002.
No. And like, they still haven't had a woman leader. I don't
No.
think there's been a single black member of Fine Gael.
We're talking about Leo Radker.
What?
Some racist YouTuber. Leo Radker, though.
Yeah.
The first black leader
Yeah.
of Fine Gael.
I feel like they will say, like,
Yeah.
next leader will be using Radker as an example of.
Yeah. Well, they tried to do that at the time. For some reason, that didn't take off quite as much as it did for the Americans during COVID.
Well, I don't think there was overt.
It was what?
I don't think it was as overt.
No, it wasn't. Nobody was going, oh, he's the first Southeast
Yeah.
of Southeast Asian descent.
Indian. It's pronounced
Or like, would you say, let's say POC, leader of the country, okay?
yeah, POS.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
You know, I got it.
Did you get it?
I was laughing. All right, okay, that's enough of that. That was one list. Come over to hear us. Like Celtic Ligers kicks Callan's dick.
Yeah.
I think that's a variation on something I said the other day, which probably goes to show.
I think
if,
I said it half an hour ago. We're going to Callum's.
But that's why we probably haven't been picked up to write for the show. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's because we're too funny. Is that why we haven't been picked up?
I told you before I applied, and they never responded.
How did you apply? Because I'd love to apply.
Someone who wrote for it reached out and was like,
They really didn't, did they?
honest to God, they were like, I think it'd be really good for.
You would be good.
And then I messaged it in, and never heard back. Sent a follow up, didn't hear back. Then the next time I saw that person,
Yeah.
they ignored me.
Really?
But in a way of like, I think
They were like, oh, I don't want to
It's
talk
awkward.
about that, just
It's
in
awkward.
case. Yeah.
so. It might have been they were just like felt awkward because they told me to apply and I never heard back,
Yeah.
which would be awkward. Or maybe what I feel like my application was so insane that
So goddamn
I made
crazy.
their job a lot more difficult. You know what I mean? So they were like, "Why did you tell this insane guy to apply?"
What did you say in it exactly?
I just sent them on some of my comedy.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
And
Yeah,
it's-
no, that's there. That's on
And
them,
it's so
honestly.
twisted, you know.
So twisted. No, it's just like, do you know, on The Simpsons, they had like, you know, some conventional sort of TV writers and a bunch of guys from Harvard.
Yeah.
But then the guys from Harvard had found like an obscure publication where, somewhat obscure.
The Onion.
It was called The Onion. It was called The Waterford Onion. No, it was... I can't remember what it was, but ultimately John Swartzwelder wrote on that. And they were like, this guy is like a fucking mentaler. And he's so
Yeah.
fun. And they became obsessed with him because he was like an older man who was like a libertarian crank who like would just pour jokes out of his notebook and just make these. And so...
So you're saying there's still time?
Well, I just thought like, and in that era, they were going like, no, you got to get this guy. He is crazy. He's so funny. Or,
Yeah.
or like, let's say like a Larry David type character, or like, God, who was somebody who was good? Norm Macdonald. You
Yeah.
know, where there was room for like, this guy is mental. Let's get him in here. But instead, like now they're like, this guy is mental, which means he'll be unreliable, and we won't be able to get like week to week sketches of
Yeah.
like Boris Johnson and culture war stuff.
That's
And
it.
you're
Just
like,
let me
"Fuck
turn up
this."
late
Yeah.
Or sometimes not turn up and not do any work.
That's what John Swartzwelder did. And
Yeah.
he wrote some of the best episodes of The Simpsons.
I know, that's just what I want to do.
And he's like, apparently, this might be slightly apocryphal, but apparently, like, they made smoking indoors. They banned smoking indoors, so then he stopped coming into the office. So he just bought a booth from a restaurant down the corner from him, installed it in his house, and just was smoking and writing in his.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, good stuff. That's another one. Again, getting really romantic about like smoking. God, and I always giving out about smoking because I can't do it, and it's also unhealthy for you. But like when I hear about animators just like chain smoking and like leaving ash over their pages, I'm like, damn, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we pause and have a break and then come back, or what?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that.
The Ligers go on to talk about Ireland's favourite satirist Oliver Callan and his much more popular end-of-year roundup Callan Kicks the Year 2023. All of this and more over on patreon.com/CelticLigers for just €5 a month.